The House of Justice.
Hear the shout of liberty, equal rights and dignity and honor.
Hello, and welcome to the program House of Justice on HOG Radio TV, giving light to life and taking justice to law. My name is Gloria Ballason, and it's always a privilege to be with you on this program. Today on the program, we will be evaluating the Tinubu administration and the task ahead of Nigerians. And for good cause, because the country Nigeria is not just for politicians, it is for the citizens primarily, and then for those who lead us. And here on the program today, I am joined by very seasoned analysts. I am delighted that I can be joined by a former chair of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Kaduna chapter. He was also a weekly editor on New Nigerian newspapers, and he is now a media consultant. I'm glad to have Mr. Andrew Fatherson. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you and welcome.
You know, I remember flipping through New Nigeria back in the day, and I would see your name over and over again. And, you know, it just brings back memories.
Memories, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for not losing steam.
No.
In a country of times and seasons, and it looks like yesterday always looks like today and all.
Yeah,
but thank you, sir.
Keep moving forward and hoping that tomorrow will always be better than today.
I can only imagine. And I also have with me a lecturer at the Veritas University in Abuja. He is a writer. He is a social and political analyst. I'm talking about Mr. Timothy Dokpesi Adidi. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I'm glad that we could pull you from Abuja for this conversation.
Anything that concerns Gloria Ballason, I'm ready to make sacrifices.
It's heartwarming to hear that. So let's start from you.
Yeah.
Nigerians have gone through the elections, and now a new administration has come on board. 24 hours after the swearing in, Nigerians are met with some kind of shock. One is the fuel hike, what the government describes as the removal of subsidy, which those on the streets do not really understand. But also there is the concern that what people hope will be a better government, or at least that there would be some honeymoon phase at the start of the administration, doesn't seem to be the case. How do you analyze our takeoff with this new government?
Yeah, well, for me, considering the trajectory of history I'm coming from, and considering the nature of the nature of the dynamics of our polity, things like this don't surprise me, because one of the greatest problems in Nigerian politics is managing issues. Yeah, we are yet to know how to manage people. We are yet to know how to manage people. Diversity. We are yet to know how to manage a country. So, if within 24 hours of becoming a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Nigerians are already beginning to go into depression. Nigerians are already getting frustrated. Nigerians are already getting tired. It shows that it's a long walk to freedom, and as such, one will begin to expect that people begin to learn from the past in anticipation of giving giving a brighter future for Nigerians. So the way it is going, we will just keep watching how it plays out, knowing fully well that this whole issue about fuel subsidy, removal or no removal, you don't know at what point they have removed it, and you don't know at what point they are still keeping it. So you see, the whole idea of democracy comes with education. When the populace are not educated on matters that affect governance or matters that affect them, and you just keep putting them in the blues, not letting them understanding the nature of what this first subsidy is all about, it has even become a mystery. One does not really understand. I could see Fashola yesterday. He himself was just trying to see how he could explain the whole idea about first subsidy to Nigerians. So I think we still have a long way to go, and until we begin to learn how to manage people, manage policies, and manage diversities, then unfortunately we'll still, like I said, it's still going to be a long walk to freedom.
Yeah, Mr. Fatherson, you have been an editor for so long, for decades really, and I'll probably be talking about 3-4 decades, if I'm not wrong. But
Let's say 1.5 decades.
1.5 decades.
I
Thank
left
you.
office in 2008.
Yes, but then the work around this media reportage and has been going on for quite some time now.
Yeah.
How would you describe it for those on the street to even understand what this fuel subsidy is? Because like Timothy said, they just assume that we should know. But at the end of the day, when they can't really explain it, they say, well, it's for your good. What is this about?
Yeah, you see, I think we generally, I don't know whether this is only unique to Africans, this issue of our leadership. A lot of us get into leadership positions without actually preparing for it. We just assume, okay, it's there for the grab. When you grab it, then they don't know what to do. What the last 24 hours have shown or is portending is that, okay, the Mr. President is coming into office without an agenda, without an idea of exactly where he's going to or where he's carrying Nigerians to. He won an election, yes, and then there has been a so-called transition committee to hand over the reins of power to him. But it seems from the first statement that he made, he did not understand exactly the enormity of the responsibility on his shoulders. If he had an idea of what needs to be done almost immediately is to carry Nigerians along, give them hope, and then show them the way forward. But barely, it was even less than 12 hours after he was sworn in that he made that statement. He now brought us back to a depression mode, and everybody is disappointed. We thought it was morning, but we now realize that it was still dawn. So I think a lot needs to be done by the present administration. Many people will not understand the impact or the import of what actually happened within the last 24 hours. But I think what has happened, and I hope I'll be proved wrong, has taken us backwards with about 6 months. People will likely take it a little bit with a pinch of the salt, and they will not get over it in the next, let's say, 100 days or the next 6 months. At a time when the journey was supposed to have started, or is supposed to be starting, we will still be in the depression mode, and then wondering, did we do the right thing voting in the president? Did we do the right thing voting
Assuming
the
he was the president that was voted for by the people, since the issue is still in court.
We have to, as well, by the Nigerian experience, well, he's the president, and maybe nothing is going to come out of it other than confirmation. We have that understanding as a people, because one of the tragedies of our own experience with democracy is that we don't have a decision even when we are supposed to have a decision. Left to me, all these court cases ought to have been cleared before the swearing in, so that we don't plunge into a constitutional crisis. You've sworn in a president, how about if the court now say that he's not validly elected? What happens? So we are still in the dark, and I think we shouldn't start like that. We thought we are done with the last administration, the uncertainty, the depression, the hopelessness. But unfortunately, we are being reminded on the first day of this new administration that we are not yet out of that. So it's unfortunate.
Not so heartwarming. But let's talk about the immediate signs that we see. As soon as the announcement of the fuel subsidy removal was made, we saw that the queues returned almost immediately. Was this a reaction to fear? Or is this that people really understand that the subsidy has been removed? I mean, because it was almost dramatic that people just returned back to the queues.
Unfortunately, Nigerians, so to say, elected a president who is not sensitive to the plights of the people. Nigerians elected a president who, like I said, did not look at history before. Whoever must have prepared that speech for the president made one of the greatest blunder, because at this point in time, what Nigerians wanted was hope. Nigerians wanted a government that will give them a ray of hope, giving them directions on what to follow. What I expected from that speech, the first thing I expected was the issue of insecurity that is happening in Nigeria. Tell us what you want to do. Because what I would like to know, when you go back to Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution, if I'm getting it right, security and welfare of the people is paramount. So you should have been giving us, that is where you should have been taking us to, rather than taking us backward. And so therefore, from all indication, well, I will not want to draw a hasty conclusion as a philosopher, but at the same time, you see, a prophet is not someone who sees the future. A prophet is someone who interprets the immediate circumstances and then projects what the future will be. So I can say that the future is bleak to Nigerians. We are not yet seeing a bright future, unless maybe they change they change the drum of the dance of the, or maybe they change whatever policies they have laid on ground, pending when we are hoping that something new is going to come. But as it is, if I'm going to Abuja now, I definitely will buy the fuel for 600 naira. I was coming in, when I got to the filling station, I was buying a liter of fuel for 600 naira. So if I had wanted to fill my tank with 10,000, now I'm paying times 2. So what does that tell you? It tells you that, look, it's not going to be business as usual. That this is time for morbid fear and exaggerated anxiety. This is a time when Nigerians will now begin to ask themselves serious question: have we made a mistake? That is, if actually there was a mistake in the first place, because with the way things are going, like you said, we are still in court to know whether Bola Tinubu won the presidency. But now, whether looking at the Nigerian context, whether the ideas, or whether the court is going to have its own fair, I don't know. If the court will meet up to the expectations of Nigerians, or will the court kill the expectations of Nigerians? So we do not know what is going to happen. But the truth is this: we are in for bigger troubles ahead, and until the narrative is changed, until the music is changed, then with what we are looking at now, we can say that Nigerians will have a lot to contend with in the coming days.
Well, we don't have a precedence of the court overturning presidential elections. But for these elections, there's so much contention about the validity. And I think for the first time in a long time, much of the ball goes to INEC and not really the opposition and the shenanigans of politicians. Do you see a situation where things may be different this time around in terms of the votes reflecting who Nigerians really want as their leader? Could there be a change in circumstances?
Yeah, I think the court has there's what called doctrine of necessity. I think the court can do a great. Nothing is sacrosanct. Change is constant, and that it has not happened before does not mean it cannot happen. After all, we have seen in America, we heard that I think Obama swore, he did the swearing in twice, because the initial one there was a mistake, and he did it again. So that was the first time it was happening. So for me, nothing is impossible. Nothing is cast in stone. Yeah, if today the court upturns upturns INEC decision to have given the votes to Bola Tinubu, I still believe that even the date of the swearing in is not sacrosanct. After all, we heard that May 29th was not actually the date for handing over. So there is nothing that is impossible. But what is more important is that the court becomes the last hope of the common man. What is more important is that for the first time in Nigerian history, the Nigerian people will now know that yes, there is hope through the court. So if the court is able to give us such hope, then my sister, I'm going to let you know that we are going to be saying Uhuru, because we can now see that it is clear that the court is on our side as a people. But where the court is shortchanged, where the court is, so to say, will carry out a miscarriage of justice, then again we'll begin to question again the courts. We'll now begin to question our hopes and aspirations as a country. So, but until then, let's keep waiting. Let's keep hoping. Let's keep hope alive that the court is still the last hope of the common man. So no matter the scenario, as long as the court is able to give a fair judgment and it is to the favor of the opposing party, then, my sister, nothing is impossible. We can change the date. It doesn't take anything to change the date. Moreover, the date is not constitutional. It's just as a matter of dialogue, deliberative democracy, and a consensual democracy. So, okay, since it has happened like this, let us make it like this. And not, of course, even when Peter Obi was the governor of Imo State, Anambra State, we saw that when he lost the election, the court brought him back, and at the point they were arguing whether he was going to spend 4 years or he was going to. Falana came and said, no, go back. This is the situation. You have to. The election that was won before was invalid. You get my point. So there is nothing that is impossible. This is democracy. Democracy is all about change. Democracy is all about democracy is dynamic. It's like a spirit. It's like an organism. It changes. And so you can't hold us and say no. It must be like this. As long as the truth is served on the table, then anything goes.
Well, let's do a comparison of the first few days of the last administration and then this new administration. When the Buhari government came into power, we saw that Nigerians entered a panic mode. And the panic mode was people were talking about this phrase, body language. So people just got
ready for it because he has been out of the government service for quite a long time now, since he left the governorship of Lagos State. And the governorship of Lagos State, compared to what it is with the governors of Nigeria, I think there are two different ball games, even though someone who has handled Lagos State has a better chance of understanding the diverse nature of this country than any other governor in Nigeria. But then we are talking about the tax. Yes, I think the president is supposed to have a full grasp of the enormity and the responsibility, because governing a state like Lagos, I think it's like governing Nigeria itself because of the dynamics involved. If he could do that successfully for 2 terms and even changed the narrative in Lagos and even the economic and political landscape in Lagos, I think he's also capable of doing it at the federal level. But the issue now is the template that he's going to use. The people he used or who helped him to succeed in Lagos State, is it possible for him to assemble the same kind of near excellent theme again? If he is going to be able to, then we might have hope, despite the hiccup that we have seen in the last 24 hours. Because what has happened in the last 24 hours is giving everybody a sense of hopelessness. And then people are supposed to rally around the government, but they are now saying, look, maybe we made a mistake. And he needs to do a lot before he can rally back and then move Nigerians forward and bring them to support him again. It's not just about the policies that he has alone, but he also has to mobilize, because every Nigerian is supposed to be part and parcel of the journey. And if we are not sufficiently mobilized, then I don't think the journey to El Dorado is feasible.
Well, let's look at the inaugural speech. All across the world, people wait for the inaugural speech of the president. And the hope is that it gives a sense of direction on where the country would go to. Can you point out any part of that inaugural speech that perhaps gives direction? And this is with a view to at least giving a benefit of doubt and to hope that perhaps the issue around the removal of the subsidy was an anticlimax. So was there any part of the speech that should keep us hopeful that this administration has a plan for the people?
No, I don't think, by my own understanding of that inaugural speech, there was nothing to suggest that this is the direction I'm going. He was talking in general terms. He was never specific on any of the major issues. He did mention something about security. He did mention something about moving the economy forward, but there were no specifics. That means probably that he's not ready or he's still consulting. And that is one of the tragedies of the African leader. While in some climes, leaders are prepared for leadership roles and responsibilities, in Africa, it is not the same thing. People seem to just jump into the fray, and then by chance, you become a leader. And when when the leadership is thrust on you, you don't even know what to do with it because you don't even know what it is all about. Apart from, okay, I am the big man, the buck stops on my desk. So in terms of the inaugural speech or address, I don't think he was very clear on anything. He was just trying to say, okay, this is how things have been. We are going to do something about that. But there was nothing specific to say, this is where we are going. Even the oil subsidy is something. Well, oil subsidy is just one aspect of the entire gamut of the economic issues we are bedeviled with. Because if you whatever you do with oil subsidy, it impacts immediately. And you were asking whether people were just waiting to hear him make an announcement and then they just react simultaneously. You know, it seems that the independent oil marketers have think tanks. They have people who strategize for them. They were anticipating probably this was going to happen. And it was like they were ready. And that the typical Nigerian instinct, okay, if he makes that mistake and make a wrong pronouncement, we will interpret the body language to mean, okay, we can go ahead. And that was why in less than 5 hours after that pronouncement, all the filling stations were either locked or they were selling 300. They started by 300 and something, 400. In some states, we were hearing 700 already, even before NNPC started issuing its own statement. So it's like from the outside, there are more organized people than government. This is the implication of what has happened. Because if it is not so, he will have weighed, or his people, his managers, will have weighed the possible impact of what will happen if he made that statement. And that also goes back to this idea of, he was talking about management. We don't even know how to manage information at that high level. And I think his handlers are going to have a very rough and very difficult times keeping in step with Nigerians. I think so.
Well, I quite some thoughts there, particularly what he said about it does appear that those outside of government are more systemic and more alert to the issues than the government itself. One would have hoped that this is all a work of fiction, but we're talking about statements that impact on the lives of over 215 million people. And that's a lot. That's about the future of a country. That's about the unity of a country, the economy, the politics. That's so much. It used to be the case that some of these inaugural speeches were even put together in a book. I remember that I think it was Babangida IBB who put up this book of For Their Tomorrow, We Gave Their Today, or something like that. Brilliant speeches, even if what was inside didn't translate into what. But now we don't even have the speeches, and we don't even have a sense of hope. Philosophically, what do you think the Nigerian people can begin to do to somehow have staying power as we hope towards the days ahead?
Yeah, basically, you understand that there's a difference between politics and politicking. We have more of people who are politicking than rather people who are going to politics. And of course, for you to go into politics, it means you have to understand the fundamental concept of what leadership is and what leadership hopes to deliver. If you do not know what leadership is and what leadership hopes to deliver, of course, you will end up like what is happening now. So we have a case of people who are not prepared for leadership. We have a case of people who are not trained to become leaders. We have a case of people who are more or less politicking, who are looking at the government as a place where, like he said, it is my turn. So it is my turn. It is my turn to do what? It is my turn to eat. It is my turn to pack. It is my turn to carry. It is my turn to hijack. But if he understands governance, if he understands what government is, he knows that it is his turn. He should know that it is his turn to deliver. It is his turn to deliver for the common good. It is his turn to deliver for the welfare of the people. So if you understand the dynamics of governance and what government is and what policy is all about, you should know that it's all about welfare. And if it's all about welfare, it therefore means that the very moment you are coming into government, people should begin to feel the impact. Now let me tell you the difference between Bola Tinubu and Muhammad Buhari when Muhammad Buhari came into government. If not because the whole politicking was hijacked by that government. The moment the people knew that Buhari was in government, everything was just taking place naturally. Why? Because they felt that, oh, this was a man during the time of Idi Agbon. This was a man that was so strict. He went against indiscipline and stuff like that. What happened? We were seeing 24 hours light. People who were going to office late. They were going to office very, very early. Why? Because of the body language. It is President Muhammadu Buhari. So, what later happened, I wouldn't know. And like again I said, when politicking takes precedence over politics, then you should know that you can get the worst of it. So, with the case of Bola Tinubu as it is right now, you see, they need to go back to the drawing board. They need to go back and re-strategize. They need to go back and ask ourselves, look, this is not time to joke. This is time to do politics. And what we call politics, real politics, welfare of the people, democracy. You see, if Tinubu had, gone into serious deliberative analysis of the situation, he wouldn't have gotten this kind of mess. And what do I mean by deliberative analysis? You see, there are different forms of democracy. We have deliberative democracy, we have consensual democracy, and all these are tilted towards galvanizing the system, towards delivering good governance for the people. But as it is, it seems to me that both the president himself and people are working for him are not ready for governance. They are just ready for them to make their name. And you see, leadership is not a traditional title. And that is where we get it wrong in this country. It is easy to go and get traditional title and put the beads on the neck and put on the cap and put on the feathers so that people can say, yes, you are a chief. No, that is not what the presidency is. The presidency is a significant aspect of the entire polity of a state, where people have hope that you will deliver to them that which they ought to get. And when they do not see it, it therefore means that at the end of the day, it will rather be an unmitigated disaster for the country.
Now, let's again examine the track record of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He argues that he provided the template for which Lagos State is still running, and that successive governors have had to run with the master plan that he has for Lagos, and that's why Lagos is thriving. Can there be a benefit of doubt that would accord in favor of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that perhaps he may have made a mistake with his takeoff, but we may just end up landing well?
Yeah, that's why I said that. Like I said, there is still enough time for him to change the narrative. But again, like my distinguished senior colleague just said here, that Lagos is not Nigeria. You have to understand that you are dealing with a diversity of people. Lagos is, so to say, to some extent, you have the Igbos, you have the Yorubas, and of course, what I like it a lot is, even prior to Bola Tinubu's coming to Lagos, there was already a template in Lagos. There was already a template. It was like when El-Rufai came to Kaduna. El-Rufai was already using the template. So there's no template you will be using that you come and think that you own the template. It's not possible. And even if you say you own the template, this template was, of course, it was a collective idea by different set of people coming together, putting their heads together. But the question is whether it is the same that is going to be at play with the Nigerian state as a whole is what I do not know. But like I said, a prophet is not someone who sees the future. He looks at the existential realities to project what the future will be. So as it is, we are looking at the existential realities. It is only a philosophical question. Is there any hope? Will there be any hope? And at what time will Nigerians begin to see the ray of hope? It's one thing to have hope, but again, Nigerians have their own timing to say, okay, at what time are we going to see the ray of hope? Is it in the next 6 months? That will be too long. Is it in the next 3 months? It's going to be too long. They need it now, because as it is, look, the truth is that people are hungry. People are really, really hungry. And I know what I mean by people are really, really hungry. You can imagine an adult will just chat you and say, look, Timothy, please, can I get 1,500 naira? So people are hungry, and so therefore you can't begin to worsen the situation at the beginning of your instance. And of course, even if you must want to remove fuel subsidy, look, there are ways you should do this. There are ways you should do it in such a way that even the people. And look, one basic necessity for any democracy is information. Look, there's a way and information you will deliver in order to do what you want to do. I will sacrifice my hunger for today, because I know that since you have explained to me, and since you have given me a ray of hope that if you do this, this is what will happen, I will be relaxed. I'll be waiting. But at this point, nobody is saying anything. Nobody is giving anybody hope. People are just walking up and down, trying to see how best they can sort themselves. So things are not easy. So the best bet is, now, whether he's going to replicate what he did in Lagos, for now, I cannot tell. I'm not God. I'm not spirit for me to know. But all I can tell you now, but from what I see, the existential situation now is giving me a strong sense of projection to tell you what it will be. But until again they change the narrative as it is now, then we can now again begin to say, Uhuru, there's hope. So, but again, you see, there are two kinds of hope. We have a pseudo hope and we have authentic hope. But at the end of the day, the only commodity I sell is hope, and so therefore I have no choice than to preach this hope, because I know that you see, if there are ways things can change, it can even be through a natural process of selection. Anything can happen. So people should be very, very careful to begin to do the right thing, because karma can begin to take place at any given time. And so if karma can begin to take place at any given time, then it is better you do the right thing and let karma meet you doing the right thing, so that at the end of the day we all will be happy.
All right, I will talk to Mr. Fatherson about the health of the president, but before I let you off on that line of thought, for many Nigerians, this sounds like the government carrying out a surgery without anesthesia. Or we want to fix this fuel situation, and poop, we remove fuel subsidy without any background work. Could it be that this is also perhaps a strategy to put in the worst before the best comes?
That kind of strategy.
I mean, I heard him laugh.
that kind of strategy is economically risky and politically, it's economic risky and politically undeserving, because you don't strategize that way. If I want to, if even as the head of my family, if I want to change certain things, I will not do it in such a way that they begin to feel the impact. You could even be doing it gradually. If, for example, somebody who takes hemp, who takes weed, or who takes marijuana, and you are saying you are taking him to the psychiatric hospital, the best approach is not to completely withdraw the weed, and you think the person you have not started the treatment. You are already, in fact, you are worsening the situation, and the psychiatrist will tell you you withdraw gradually. Is gradually withdraw. As you are withdrawing gradually, you are now cancelling the patient, and as you cancel the patient is seeing reasons why he should stop taking hemp. So you want to reduce. Already, I'm already economically depressed. I'm already socially bankrupt, and you are telling me you want to withdraw subsidy like that. I'm already not eating food, and now you have to make it worse, that even the little place I'm getting the food, you have also collected it from there. That's not how management works. That's not how to manage situations. For me, it's just telling me that these people, whoever the brains behind this current leadership, needs to go back to 100 level to study peace and conflict, GST. I think for some schools, GST 111, so that they can begin to learn how to manage people, manage conflict, and manage situations.
There's a sense of deja vu that comes with having a president that is unwell. we went through that with President Umaru Yar'Adua, who many Nigerians feel was well intended but unwell. And then we went through it with President Muhammadu Buhari. And now again we're back to it with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How do you think that will impact on the nation, the health of the president, and the challenges that comes with absenteeism, with this tedious and demanding work of the presidency?
Well, I just hope that it is not the fate of Nigeria to have ill presidents or leaders almost every time. I just hope his situation is not bad, and I also just hope that he's going to get better and stronger. It will be in the interest of Nigerians and Nigeria to hope that he is in a very good health so that he can put in his best. Musa Yar'Adua, actually, no one can say exactly how good he will have been as a president, even though there were indications from the body language and from the policies he tried to implement that Nigeria would have been better off with his presidency. Yar'Adua spent most of his time, virtually every quarter he had to go to medical tourism. I won't call it a consultation because he made it as if it was a ritual. It actually distorted the rhythm of governance, and at a point certain things were not done, or were not done as at when due, because anytime he left the country for medical checkup, it seemed there was a void. At a point, he delegated the vice president, and when the vice president did what he thought was needed, unfortunately, some of the people around the president who were called cabal actually undid some of the things that the vice president actually wanted to be done. So eventually there were gaps, and government did not move smoothly anytime Mr. President was away. I hope we don't have the same situation with the present president. But you see, it also goes to say, to show us that we are not serious about most of the policies we talk about. Why will the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the supposed giant of Africa, have to go outside the country for treatment virtually every time, when there are countries like Morocco, South Africa, Kenya, where their leaders get treated at home? Why will our president always run to Europe every time he has headache? Why not put the health facilities in Nigeria in good condition so that at least some of the treatment he can receive in Nigeria? You are talking about the impact of maybe his absences in case his health degenerates. The impact it will have on Nigeria, obviously it will have a lot of impact, because with health you can never tell how long it will take for somebody to recover, because it also depends on the nature of the ailment, and it also depends on the kind of medication that he is receiving. But we hope that he is going to come with a team, and the government is going to function as a team, not that one person is a boss. Of course, the ball stops at the Mr. President's desk, but at least certain fundamental things should move on, like policy implementation, like decision making, even without the president. If that will happen, I think the risks of not having a smooth governance structure will not be felt so much. But if he is not coming with a team, he is coming with people who are going to be fighting, there will be infighting, this faction versus the other faction, and so on and so forth, then at the point I think Nigeria is going to suffer for it.
Well, if you're just joining us, the program is House of Justice on HOG Radio TV, giving light to life, taking justice to law. And I'm here in the studio with Mr. Timothy Dokpesi Adidi. a lecturer at the Veritas University, a public affairs analyst, and also a writer. And I'm also here with former chair of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Kaduna chapter. He's also a weekly editor, was a weekly editor on New Nigeria, and is a media consultant. As you know, we never like to go away without allowing you get a word in. And so you can please call us on the number 070-4623-1510. Again, 070-4623-1510. And if you're calling from outside of the country, you would want to add the code +234 7046231510. The number again, +234 7046231510. We're discussing the topic, the Tinubu administration and the task ahead. Before the lines begin to reach, let's talk about what you would suggest should be the immediate task of the present administration.
Like I said earlier when I came in this program, the first thing that should keep the ball rolling and for the president to intervene and act fast is the area of security. I can assure you that if there is security in Nigeria today, everything will fall in place. If there is security in Nigeria, today, businesses will come back to the way they are. If there is security in Nigeria today, foreign investors will come back and take back their positions they were before and continue the work they were doing. If there's security today, people can move from one place to another and carry out their businesses. But as long as we're not going to be dealing with the issue of insecurity in the country, then you can be rest assured that the welfare of the people will not be guaranteed. Until then, we have to galvanize the whole. Polity. We have to create an enabling environment for social integration, so that people can be free and carry out whatever they need to carry out to the best interest of the country, so that we can move forward. Any other thing the president will be talking now, for me, will not be too important as compared to insecurity, because the security of lives and property is first and foremost the reason why. If you go back to the Tobitian and Thomas Hobbes concept of the state of nature that led to the emergence of the state known as the Leviathan, you will discover that the reason why Thomas Hobbes talks about the Leviathan is because first and foremost the state of nature was warlike. It was inhumanity to man. It was a warlike situation, and hence the need for a Leviathan. And the people surrendered their will to the Leviathan and said, look, take care of us, so that we have a stable and prosperous land. But the moment you are not able to protect the lives of the citizen, then the very fundamental reason why the state exists has been defeated.
Well, we lost a call there. I hope you can still call back 070-4623-1510, and you can leave your comments and contributions on any of our social media handles at HOJ Radio TV on Facebook, at HOJ Radio TV on Twitter, and then on Instagram. This is your program. This is us putting the mic at you. How do we continue the work of ensuring that we build a nation? It takes everybody to build this nation. We take this call. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Abubakar.
All right, Abubakar.
Now, I start with the president's inaugural speech.
Yeah.
Looking at the president's inaugural speech, he talks about the situation in the country generally. But he didn't talk about solutions, what he's going to do to tackle what. I give you an example. When President Buhari came on board in 2015, in his inaugural speech talking about insecurity, he asked the command center to move from Abuja to Maiduguri. And in the first few months of his administration, we saw the fierce battle against Boko Haram and the successes recorded. And so that President Bola Tinubu, after talking about all the problems we have, will tell us, okay, this is what we will do to solve this problem and that problem. They're talking about subsidy removal. That was too early. He had not even gone into office to see the situation of things. He had not appointed, he had not made an appointment, he had not appointed a spokesperson to interface with the people and the press before he made that subsidy removal announcement. What I expected of him was he was going to go into office, settle down, see the situation of things, put measures in place to cushion the effect of subsidy removal, and go ahead and remove subsidy. You look at the challenges. When I say challenges, I mean prices of food will increase, transportation will increase, crime will increase, families will be affected. The only thing that will not increase is the salary of the Nigerian worker. I think it's best to go back to drawing table and look at this subsidy thing again. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, Abubakar.
Yeah, thank you.
Always a joy to have you. Well, Mr. Faderson, that was Abubakar there, and he is a regular caller from Abuja.
Okay.
Well, not a lot of time. We've just started. Part of what Nigerians were hoping would not happen is that they would not wish for the former administration to be better than what the future would look like. But it does look like that's where we are right now. I mean, we heard that from what Abubakar said. We cannot continue to build a country where our future tragedies are worse than where we're coming from. What would be your passing thought?
Well, let me start by saying that throughout the history of nation states, there has never been any leadership that actually made it a policy to draw up a very long list of policies or programs and actually succeeded in implementing or executing all of them. The task ahead for the present administration will be much easier if they pick about 3-4 main areas of national concern and concentrate on them, so that by the time that they are leaving, the full impact of those 4 years will be felt on Nigerians.
What would you recommend as the first 4?
The first thing will be this, just like Mr. Timothy has said, security. Security should come first. Then we talk about the economy. Then we talk about health. And I think everything will start falling into place. And by the time we also have the utilities running, water, electricity, I think the economy will be moving very vibrantly. Because one of the fallbacks of the economy, the problems the economy has, is this lack of power, sufficient power. Everything revolves around power, and we don't have power. In the last 10, 12 years, every administration that was in place, NEPA told us they were generating 2,500 megawatts. Up to today, they are still generating 2,500 megawatts, more than 15 years now, and more than 4 trillion naira that has been invested into the sector. We have nothing to show for. And every time, the economists, in fact, that the reason why I said that if the present president can be able to replicate certain of the policies that he implemented in Lagos, probably will have a hard headway, is the issue of the power supply. Lagos State is the only state, I think, for now, that has its own sufficient power generating capacity. They have their own supply in Lagos. And that is why you find that at least in Lagos you have 16, 18 hours of electricity supply non-stop. If the same thing can be done in most parts of Nigeria, I won't say in particular industrial states, but let's say in most of Nigeria, I think the economy will be stimulated to get greater productivity. The issue of health, I think if you look at how much has been spent in terms of investment in the last 10 years, education, agriculture, and health combined have not had up to 18% of the entire budgetary allocations in the last 10 years, compared to 4 trillion naira that has been invested in defense and security that has yielded nothing. So if a reorientation of the approach to governance and prioritization will be made, I think the present administration should focus on security, education, health, and agriculture. If they can pay significant attention on this and make some headway, I think Chief Bola Tinubu will be recognized as one of the best presidents Nigeria ever had, because one will have at least gotten over partially the problem of hunger. Hunger is real, like Mr. Timothy has said. He was mentioning sometimes people coming to us 1,000, 1,500 naira. In the place I live, people come to ask for even 200 naira so that they can eat akara. And it's only once in a day they eat. He's talking about 1,500. It's worse than that.
He's coming from Abuja.
You know? And the issue of health, virtually all public health institutions have become consulting clinics. No drugs, and even when there are drugs, some of them are either counterfeit or they are too exorbitant. People cannot afford to buy them. If you have typhoid or malaria now, 2,000, 3,000 naira cannot treat you. Government has to intervene. It is only in Africa where we practice this neoliberal concept of democracy, economics, politics, and whatever. We are told that government is not supposed to subsidize this, it's not supposed to subsidize that. Look, this is stupid. It's foolish. There is no country in Western Europe and America that does not subsidize health, education, and agriculture. No country in the West. In fact, the average an average cow in Britain is subsidized by about $400 per month. Look at $400, convert it in Nigeria. This is an animal being subsidized to stay alive and produce dairy products and possibly meat. It is subsidized every month, every day, every minute. But in Nigeria, human beings are being told that they cannot be subsidized. Why?
Well, over to you, Mr. Timothy, because Mr. Fatherson has left us with a thought. In 2 minutes, what will be your enduring thought that you want to leave with our listeners?
I so much believe in the powers of democracy. I believe in active participatory democracy. I believe in the people's power. You see, it's enough that we have allowed the political class to decide our future. But there should be a time when the Nigerian people, for the very, very first time in their history, will say, look, it is no longer business as usual. I remember I talked about the Hobbesian state of nature. In the Hobbesian state of nature, it was categorically said by Thomas Hobbes. At the point the Leviathan cannot be able to sustain the polity, it is on the onus of the people to arise and say, no, we do not want it this way. And that is my problem with indirect form of democracy. The indirect form of democracy we practice in Nigeria does not give for direct democracy, and that's why we have this cumbersome nature of the power of recall. And so you see, we need to begin to let these people know that, look, we are in charge as a people. Democracy is about the people, and until we as a people decide amongst ourselves to tell ourselves the truth. Now look at it. People voted for Bola Tinubu. People voted for Atiku. People voted for Peter Obi. At the end of the day, it is not all about who voted for Tinubu. We are all suffering the problem, including those who voted for Tinubu. And so therefore, the Nigerian people should understand these dynamics, and rather than keep reasoning with their stomach, they should begin to reason with their head to know that, look, I love what he said. This neoliberal form of democracy, which is against the classical form of democracy, to understand the dynamics that is involved for the people to realize what they can do and do not need to wait for government to decide everything. We nearly got it during the NSAS protest. That was the high point of it, but it was sabotaged. There is still hope. There is still hope because as a people, it is only us, ourselves, that can tell ourselves the truth. And until then, my thought will be, as long as we become passive, as long as we do not want to become active, as long as we leave the political game for the political actors, then it will still become business as usual. And at that point, we have nothing to do than to sit and wait until maybe angels come down themselves and take up the battle of the mantle of leadership and direct us to where we are going. But I don't see any angel coming. The only angel I see is me and you to decide what we want for the future.
And may the future be kind. Nigerians, you have heard Mr. Andrew Fadderson and Mr. Timothy Dokpesi Adidi as we discussed the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration and the task ahead. Very brilliant discussion. It's now over to us, Nigerians, to see how we can work hard, not just to survive, but thrive. And if we work at it, we will thrive and we will do great. On that note, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Andrew, for being with us on the program. Thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you also, Mr. Timothy, for being on this program, and thank you for all the thoughts.
Welcome.
Well, this is where the rubber meets the road. We keep on this conversation because we need to put the issues on the table, and when we do, we must not forget to roll our sleeves and make it happen. On this note, I thank you. I'll be back with you same time next week. Until then, insist on the force of law and not the law of force. Bye for now.
Hear the shout of liberty.